Cliffhanger, hanging from a cliff. And that's why he's called Cliffhanger.
Excuse me! Excuse me!
We find Cliffhanger where we left him last, hanging from a cliff.
Can't hold on much longer.
Suddenly, in the water below, he catches sight of a mammoth whale.
A whale!
So I just watched Deadpool 3, or Deadpool and Wolverine. Even though I grew up a DC stan, ever since the first Iron Man movie with my boy RDJ playing Tony Stark, I was invested heavily in the MCU. Yeah, I had some favorite Marvel characters outside of the MCU like Shang-Chi, Daredevil, and Iron Fist because I'm a filthy martial artist fiend, and of course, one of my other favorites was Deadpool.
I'm touching myself tonight.
I was a fan of Deadpool's first two movies when the MCU introduced him, so I was very much looking forward to this upcoming movie, ever since my boy Hugh donned the adamantium claws once again in my boy the role Wolverine. However, I knew Disney was kind of trying not to fall off of a cliff with their recent streak of less than stellar releases in the last few years, ever since the climactic end of Endgame, and are kind of grasping at straws ever since James Gunn is looming in the background over there with his menacing DC projects in development. Despite all of that, I was very much curious to see what was going to happen in this film and see if the spark of the MCU would be reignited in me by the end of the film. And honestly, the flame is still dead, very much so. The spark is still a fucking dud at this current moment in time. And Deadpool and Wolverine was very much a pretty fun movie to watch. It wasn't a bad movie, it was just fun in very simple terms. I will personally say that I think this is their weakest Deadpool movie in the trilogy, mainly done when it comes to the narrative of the film. A handful of the plot points kind of felt hollow to me since the first two movies had some pretty strong narratives, progression, and pacing. However, it seems only some of that transferred over. Currently, I'm trying to do this review a little bit spoiler free, so forgive me if I'm a little bit too vague. The film also didn't really have a main villain per se, and the villain's motivations again felt fairly hollow and a bit all over the place. Same goes for how the story of the movie goes as well. Is Deadpool and Wolverine bad? No, it's not really bad. It's just has a lot of conjoined moments and scenes that are individually really cool scenes on their own, but together when it comes to overall narrative, it becomes a very fangasmy mess. It doesn't really help either that Deadpool's goal of saving his timeline from being erased, as it could have yielded some more interesting ways how he could have solved the problem in either a funny way or a helpful way. It felt like the progression of it kind of felt really sloppy. The only other complaint I had really was there's a lot of slow motion music scenes, which is more of a nitpick for me because some of the scenes were epic, but I slowly got tired of them as they kept coming. I personally am not a big fan of super slow motion music scenes, so take that with a grain of salt as you will. Also, the movie falls back into the Marvel issue that they've been doing for a lot of their movies, where the threat becomes multiversal once again at the last few minutes of the movie, which wasn't very fun for me, but I lived with it since Marvel kind of wrote themselves into that hole in the first place. Otherwise, the movie was fun when it came to its fight scenes, cameos, character interactions, and of course my boy Hugh killed it as Wolverine once again. I will say this, the beginning of this movie is top 5 one of the best beginnings in the entire MCU for when it comes to introductions. You can't convince me otherwise. It's truly that entertaining in my personal opinion. Also, if you ever thought that the trailers revealed too much about the movie and thought that there wouldn't be too many surprises in the film, trust me, there are a handful of surprises that weren't revealed, and you can expect some pretty interesting cameos and interactions that weren't shown in the trailers, especially the cameos, because I saw cameos that I never thought I would ever see in this movie in a million years. Ryan as Deadpool was funny, but I did think there were a lot more jokes in the movie that were needed, which to me kind of overshadowed the narrative a little bit too much, but otherwise the movie got some good laughs out of me and was pretty funny in different segments of the film. If you go into this movie with only the intentions of having a fun watch with Deadpool and Wolverine teaming up in one movie and then seeing some cool cameos on top of that, some cool ass fight scenes, maybe some goofy funny jokes, then by all means you're going to thoroughly enjoy the film and you're not gonna really leave disappointed. You're not gonna feel like anything's too bad. But if you were going in to see more of a compelling interaction of how it was going to spark up the MCU again, if it's going to connect anything to that, is it going to add any more compelling information or anything like that, then you're going to leave dissatisfied. You're not really going to get too much out of it, like the villain's not going to continue on, and without spoiling spoiling too much, there isn't too many characters that got cameo that are going to really come back. At least I don't think they are. I don't know what Marvel plans to do with them, but they were cool to see in the movie. Like, there are some characters I never expected to see from my old childhood of old movies. I didn't think they would show up, but I was very glad to see them come back. This is me now leaning into spoiler territory now, so if you haven't watched the film, you have been warned from this point on. To go into a little bit more detail about Deadpool's mission on saving his universe, it happened due to the death of the Logan from the Logan movie, and because of his death, his universe is starting to unravel because he was an anchor being. But there was also a subline plot talking about how Deadpool always wanted to be seen bigger than thou, actually be in a bigger position, to have a bigger purpose, which I felt like that was something they were aiming to go deeper with because of the beginning interactions in the film, because he talks to Happy Hogan, he wants to actually join the Avengers, he actually tries to apply to them, but it never actually ends up going through, and he actually gives up being Deadpool because his dreams was crushed. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to incorporate that into the story, but it kind of got lost off in the background. It kind of got tossed away. It kind of became just, oh, I have to save my universe now, so I'm just gonna do whatever I can to save the universe, no matter how heinous of the act needs to be. The only time that became a part of the plotline, him looking for a bigger purpose, is when he ran into the main villain, which was Cassandra Nova. For those who are unaware, Cassandra Nova is a twin of Charles Xavier. When they were in the womb, Charles Xavier kind of offed her in the womb, but the TVA kind of got her. Don't know how, don't know why, don't want to know. And while using her powers, she's using them to actually control him, show him his memories from the past of his own motivations, and trying to manipulate them so she can do whatever she wants him to do. While at the same time, at the end of the film, Cassandra Nova, even though after she had a conversation with Logan, kind of started wanting to destroy the multiverse because one of the TVA guys wanted to get rid of her from the void, blah 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 blah. It's a lot of things. Like, it's a little bit foggy to me because it felt a tad bit messy to me in my mind, so I wasn't really sure entirely where it was going. And when she decided to end up being like, fuck it, I'm gonna destroy the multiverse, I kind of was like, okay, what's the reason for this? I don't understand entirely. But the fight before that, when they introduced Blade and Gambit and X-23 and Elektra, and there's a big fight before Deadpool and Wolverine go back into their own universes to save it, was definitely pretty entertaining. Every scene with Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine, whether it's a serious scene or a goofy scene or aggressive scene, there's multiple scenes that he's had, especially the one where he's yelling at Deadpool in the car about how childish he is and how much he hates the fact that he's stuck with him, was definitely a cool moment in the film. So one of the big pluses of the entire movie is that Hugh Jackman is there and he knows how to act the hell out of Wolverine, so you know that was good. But all in all, this is pretty much just kind of like action movie, superhero movie junk food. It's not really that compelling. It's not really the highest of movies. If I were to give this movie a rating, I'll probably give it a 7.5 out of 10, maybe 8, just for the NSYNC intro in the movie alone. That was just way too funny and way too cool to see in the beginning, so I don't know, but right now I'll probably give it a 7.5. Let me know what you guys think about the movie if you saw it. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Also understand, this is my opinions. I only watched the movie once. Maybe I have to watch the movie again, maybe my opinions will change, but otherwise, let me know what you guys think about the movie if you've seen it. See you guys in the next video. It's your boy Kadukun. Peace.
FMA, handle business, don't play. On point when it comes to the anime. Jack and Daxter, ayy, let's go. The ultimate heroes, don't stop, we on the road. Kadukun. Yeah, welcome to the channel.